Tech team, can you please begin with the recording? Good morning. Welcome to the March 5th, 2025 Agenda Review Committee meeting. Before we start the meeting, I would like to share a few safety points and next meeting announcements. Please note that the primary exit and entrance to the boardroom is the door which you used to enter this morning. If you are leaving the room, please use this door. The restrooms are outside the boardroom doors to your left. During the meeting, we ask that you keep all aisles and exits clear. If you need any assistance during the meeting, please waive the attention of one of our security officers. Please mark your calendars for the upcoming meetings. The next board meeting is scheduled for Thursday, March 20th, 2025 at 3:00 p.m. Please note that the change in the start time to be held at 42 West Madison Street Garden Level Boardroom. For details on how to register to speak or observe at the meetings and to learn about the speaker lottery process, please visit the Chicago Board of Education website, cpsboe.org. If you have any questions about registration or public participation, please contact the board office for assistance. Thank you for joining us today. President Hardin, we are now ready for you to begin the meeting.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Chicago Board of Education Agenda Review Committee meeting. Today is March 5th, 2025. I'm President Sean B. Hardin. On behalf of my fellow board members, thank you for joining us today. We're holding today's Agenda Review Committee meeting in the boardroom at the CPS Loop office, 42 West Madison Garden Level. I'd like to note that board members and senior leadership are physically present in the boardroom. Registered speakers may join us in person or virtually if they've opted to do so, and registered observers are joining us in person. The Agenda Review Committee meeting of Wednesday, March 5th, 2025 is hereby called to order. Board Secretary, please call the roll.
Thank you. Member Lozano?
Present.
Sorry, he just walked in. Member Lopez?
Present.
Member Thomas?
Present.
Member Boyle?
Present.
Member Custer?
Present.
Member Pope?
Present.
Member Rosenfeld?
Present.
Member Rivas?
Present.
Member Rio Sierra?
Here.
Member Bannon?
Present.
Member Biggs?
Present.
Member Thodakura?
Present.
Member Blaze?
Present.
Member Zakor?
Present.
Member DeBerry?
Present.
President Hardin?
Present.
We have 18 present. We do have a quorum. I'd also like to recognize Pedro Martinez, Chief Executive Officer, Ruchi Verma, General Counsel, Bogdana Shukumbova, Chief Education Officer, Charles Mayfield, Chief Operating Officer. Oh, I'm sorry, it's 16 present. I stand corrected. Thank you.
The order of the meeting will be as follows: public participation, discussion of Agenda Review Committee meeting items 1 through 4, recess, reconvene from recess, discussion of Agenda Review Committee meeting items 5 through 6, and then 35 through 38, closed session, reconvene from closed session, and then adjourn. Let's now proceed with today's public participation session. Thank you for joining to share your comments with the board. In compliance with the Illinois Open Meetings Act, your public participation, sometimes referred to as public comment, is the portion of the board meeting or hearing that grants district stakeholders the opportunity to address the board with their concerns and comments. Note that public participation is time for board and CPS senior leadership, to listen and hear from you, rather than a time for dialogue with board members during or after your remarks. While we can't discuss personnel matters, public participation is a key component of transparent governance and provides us, as board members as well as senior leadership, an opportunity to listen to everyone who has signed to speak. The board takes equity of voice seriously. While we may not address your comments directly during public participation, CPS leadership is always present at our meetings and are able to address concerns as follow-ups after the meeting. As a district and as a board, we also have many other spaces for authentic dialogue. For example, Each and every one of our board members host board office hours so that they can have a conversation. Please use our website, cpsboe.org, if you want to meet with the board member during office hours. We encourage you to take advantage of the opportunity to meet with board members outside of board meeting. Thank you for your attention and consideration. As a reminder, union representatives will be allotted 5 minutes to speak before public participation, and elected officials will be allotted 5 minutes to speak after the conclusion of public participation. Board Secretary, please share the rules of public participation.
Thank you, President Harden. Before I do so, I would like to note that Member Smith has joined the meeting at approximately 10:37 a.m. Members of the public who registered to speak were given the option to attend in person or via an electronic format. For those who prefer to attend via an electronic format, they were given information to access this meeting by dialing a number and using their phone. We did this so that speakers with limited or no access to the internet or who may have weak internet connections could still participate using their phones. Also, members of the public may submit written comments for Board of Education meetings via the written comments form on the board's website at cpsboe.org or mail to 1 North Dearborn, Suite 950. Written comments received between the day the public agenda was posted through 5 p.m. the day after the Board of Education meeting will be submitted to the board and published within 5 business days on our website at cpsboe.org. Speakers, please listen while I provide directions for public participation. I will call your name and number when it is your turn to speak. For speakers joining us virtually, as a reminder, to unmute, please enter *6. Once you hear your name, please state your name for the record. I will then start the 2-minute timer. When there are 30 seconds remaining, I will inform you so that you can proceed to conclude your remarks to allow for the next speaker to begin. And for anyone standing with a speaker, please stand along the glass partitions to keep the aisles clear. Thank you. President Harden, before we begin calling speakers from the speakers list, we do have union reps who would like to address the board. We'll begin with Stacy Davis Gates, CTU President, who is here in person.
Good morning. First, I want to express some gratitude and appreciation to the board for both your courage and your leadership in stopping the school closings at 5 Acero schools. I want to say that we appreciate your thoughtfulness and your ability to do what you said you were going to do. So thank you for that. Also, I want to make mention that there are also 2 other school communities that have been impacted. And that's why the charter renewal process is so important. It does have to be a rigorous process. We say that a lot about our children and what we take them through. The process under which we create infrastructure for young people, that's what should be rigorous. And so I am hopeful that the charter renewal process will be a rigorous experience that helps to protect other school communities from closures. Today we're here because we've been petitioning our members. So this is 3 days worth of petitions that have come in about the 5 things that our members believe need to be shifted at the table in order to land a contract, a transformative contract. And then also today, I've brought some of my fellow negotiators here to talk to you about why it is so important, why it is so vitally important that we land this. This morning, I saw that on March 20th, you all are going to endeavor to pass a budget amendment because the CEO didn't create a budget that included the cost of the principal's contract, the MEABF payment, and the cost of the teacher's contract, right? And so there's a budget amendment, but we're not done with our contract yet. And so we rushed to get here this morning to give you 2 things: a document that says, since you all are going to do a budget amendment on the March 20th, We want to make sure that your math matches the transformative contract our students deserve. Those petitions represent members who are intensely serious about offering a more joyful, planful school day to our elementary school students. We do offer plan time to our high school educators. And we do that in an attempt to offer a better high school day. So our elementary school teachers need your help on that. Class size is important because it provides safety and an opportunity to have a classroom that meets the needs of all of the students there. And you know what else helps to do that? Staffing. All of those things are important, just like an evaluation system that doesn't deprivilege majority Black schools in the city of educators who look like them, because it's harder to get a good rating there in the evaluation system. That's not our research, that's two different research reports. We have the ability here to make a difference in making sure that our young people have Black teachers, because they help all kids, not just Black kids. But they're penalized unfairly in majority Black schools, so the research tells us. We can also keep veteran teachers in the system because they're committed to this place. To teach in Chicago, you have to live in Chicago. And so you fall in love with Chicago. You know, this city is a wonderful place that our members are completely dedicated to. And so much so that they went to the negotiating table this time with the idea of how might we together transform our school district. Because this is one of the few activities where you know on both sides of the table that everyone wants what's good for young people. Now, we may quibble
You have 30
about
seconds
big
remaining.
stuff, small stuff. And I trust that everyone on the other side of the table wants what's good for children. I do trust that. In fact, that's the only way it works. So you've given us a deadline of March 20th. See what you did there? You said it has to be turned in by March 20th. So we're here today to turn in our homework early. We have a document for you that is going to give you the right number for you to pass on March 20th, because that's our contribution in moving us ahead transformatively. Thank you for your patience. Thank you in advance for listening to all of these wonderful people who will unpack that process for you.
Thank you for your comments. The next union rep is Caroline Rutherford, CTU Charter Division Vice Chair.
Good morning, members of the board. My name is Caroline Rutherford. I'm a visual art teacher at Acero Marquez and the chair of the CTU members at our 15 Acero schools. And I am here today with mixed emotions. We want to express gratitude to the board members who voted yes last week to keep 5 of our Acero schools open when our charter company turned their backs on us. Thank you to the 16 board members who voted yes. To the 3 board members who voted no, you will be remembered by our communities for turning your backs on us, just like Acero. While we celebrate the decision to keep 5 schools open, we are also devastated for the families and staff at Acero Paz and Acero Cruz. For years, Acero has given up on those 2 schools. They stopped actively recruiting students to those schools and began eliminating kindergarten and first grade, even when families had enrolled their students in those grades. Acero disinvested in these schools, and now the students and staffs are the ones who face the consequences, not Acero. We are here today to ask for your support in keeping these school communities whole. What can the board do to prioritize these students continuing their education with the peers they have grown up with and the educators who have raised them? Will CPS listen to the families at Paz and Cruz about what they need moving forward? Please do not just give them a list of schools nearby and say you are on your own. That is not fair to them. In the December 20th resolution, Paz and Cruz were given hope that their schools would remain open with Acero for at least one more year. Many of the families did not sign up for Go CPS because they believe their students would stay at these schools until next year. There are options we would like you to explore, such as absorbing Paz into Casas, but we are being told that the lottery system at Acero may prevent giving Paz students priority. Cruz, which is located in Rogers Park, does not have a nearby Acero school they could merge with. So why not adopt a similar plan to what CPS and CTU negotiated when Hope closed their doors after teachers and staff organized a union? That agreement placed students and staff in nearby CPS schools in order to maintain as much continuity for the school communities as possible. There are only 3 months left of school. This does not seem like enough time to plan an effective, well thought out, caring plan for the 482 students at Paz and Cruz. And this is why we believe Acero should keep these schools open for one more year. Acero's consistent claim is that they did not have enough money to keep the 7 schools open. Now, thanks to the actions of this board, they will receive funds to keep 5 of the 7 open for another year before they are absorbed into CPS. We must also remember that Acero still has millions of dollars in their reserves. Without the cost of the other 5 schools, Acero certainly now has the funds to keep Paz and Cruz open for an additional year. Will this board put the kids first and demand that Acero utilize the resources necessary to plan a humane transition for the students? The experience our families and staff have had over the last 5 months have been traumatic, and we hope this board will prevent any school community from having to do this again in the future. We can do that with the charter contracts between CPS and the charter operators. Currently, there are no consequences for charter operators in any of the contracts if they decide to walk away from students, staff, and close schools. And there needs to be clear consequences, including that charter operators are required to return any money in their reserves if they choose to close schools, and that they will lose their future charter agreement if they violate the contract midterm. Clear plans for absorbing schools back into the district also need to be outlined in the charter agreements, so families and staff know exactly what will happen if their school if a charter operator gives up and abandons the students. Union neutrality agreements need to be outlined as well. Charter operators should not be allowed to spend thousands of public funds on anti-union lawyers to run campaigns against their staff's desire to form a union and collectively bargain for a voice at the table. Without the ability for our members at Acero to be organized to have a voice, where would we be today? Again, we are here to offer gratitude. Thank you so much for putting students before the bondholders, but Acero will not do the same. And we are demanding that Acero keep Paz and Cruz open for one more year. Will you stand with us?
You have 30 seconds remaining.
And demand that of Acero as well. Will you take into consideration when they are asking for their charter to be renewed next year? Please, we need a plan for Paz and Cruz families. There are 482 students at those schools. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your comments. President Harden, we are now ready to call speakers from the speakers list, and we will begin with the group from Acero, starting with Micah Thurston, speaker number 1, Tiffany Negron, speaker number 9, Marcelo Lopez, speaker 15, Ana Yeli Salgado, speaker number 26. We'll begin with Micah Thurston, speaker number 1.
Members of the board, my name is Micah Thurston, and I am a teacher at Octavio Paz Elementary. I and 10 other staff members from Paz were here just last week. It's nice to see you again. We are here today because our school, Paz, was not mentioned in last week's 5 hours of proceedings. In the December 20th resolution, the board voted to have Acero maintain Paz and Cruz through at least the 2025-2026 school year. Can you tell us or explain how and why did that part of the resolution get removed during last week's meeting? The school year ends in less than 4 months. This conversation started in October. For over 140 days, our students, families, and staff have held on to the false hope that we could possibly be given a chance. That false hope was so great that, in fact, since October, we have not had one student leave our school. Now our students, families, and staff will be left to scramble. This conversation from the start was supposed to be about 7 schools, about our students' well-being, about our community, and about equity. It very quickly turned into a conversation about just 5 schools, about finances, and boilers. On one end, our community is trying to give the board the benefit of the doubt. But then we remember the reality of our situation. We are a small school. We are in a high-crime, low-income Latino neighborhood. The Paz community is used to being excluded from these kinds of conversations.
You have 30 seconds remaining.
Acero has done it to us for years. Our students and families are used to being told that we don't matter and that we do not deserve to take up space. At every turn, our students, families, and staff have shown unrelenting commitment, dedication, and love for our school community. We are struggling to explain to our kids why our school doesn't deserve to stay open. So board members, do you have any suggestions? What should we tell them? The resolution states the district will support our transition. What will that look like? When will we know? And will we have a say this time? Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Next speaker is Tiffany Negron, speaker number 9.
Good morning, members of the board and CEO Martinez. My name is Tiffany Negron, and I'm the case manager at the Acero, Fuentes, and Clemente campuses. I'm also the vice chair of elementary schools for the Acero Council of CTU Educators. I've been part of the Acero community for 13 years and counting. In that time, I've experienced many ups and downs, but never have I experienced something as wild as this year has been. After last week's resolution vote, you probably thought I'd be done coming to these meetings, yet here I stand. I guess I'm getting kind of used to hanging out with you guys twice a month. I'm here today feeling torn. I'm grateful the majority of you made the decision last week to keep 5 of the 7 campuses in question open next year and beyond. But I'm also devastated for my brothers and sisters at the Paz and Cruz campuses. My first 5 years with Acero were at the Paz campus, and it will always have a special place in my heart. The Paz and Cruz communities deserve a clear path forward. By being here today, I'm keeping my promise to all the Acero students and staff to fight for them every step of the way. Will you? I especially refuse to give up on a single special education student who most needs us to protect them. I will not stop showing up here until I know that there is a solid plan to protect every single Acero student with an IEP next year and beyond. I urge you to act now, thinking about how we can keep the Paz and Cruz communities as whole as possible. Help come up with a solid transition plan that protects all of our students and staffs and allows a reasonable timeline. I realize not all of you voted last week to keep our school families whole.
You have
Board Member
30 seconds
Custer,
remaining.
you may not have found it necessary to keep our families together since our schools are not in your district and you're generally unaffected by this decision. However, I and many other Acero staff members do live in your district. I did vote for you. I won't make that same mistake again. Your own website says that parents will do anything they can to ensure their child has a bright future, and you're absolutely right. That's why these parents have been fighting week after week. Your website also says the priority of the Chicago School Board should be to ensure every CPS student has the brightest future possible. You lied.
Speaker number 9,
Closing
please
schools and
conclude your
breaking up our
remarks.
communities has never led to positive outcomes. We will not forget who was there when our backs were against the wall and we needed help. We will not allow our children's futures to be left to chance. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Our next speaker is Maricela Lopez, speaker 15.
Buenos días, miembros de la Junta del CPS. Mi nombre es Maricela López y soy madre de un estudiante Acero Paz Elementary. Nuestra escuela ha existido desde 1998 y durante muchos años fue una comunidad escolar fuerte, vibrante, pero Acero nos abandonó. Dejaron de invertir en nuestra escuela. No hicieron nada para aumentar la inscripción de nuestros alumnos. Dejaron caer el edificio en el olvido y ahora somos una familia. Nuestros hijos tienen que pagar el precio de su negligencia, pero con culpa no es solo de Acero, Pedro Martínez y Rich Rodríguez. También ha fallado. Son líderes latinos en este sistema, pero en lugar de proteger a nuestra comunidad, han permitido que nos borren del mapa. ¿Cómo pueden mirar a los padres a los ojos y decirnos que luchar por los estudiantes latinos cuando cierren escuelas? Nos traicionaron. Nosotros sí valoramos nuestra escuela, aunque Acero, Pedro Martínez y Luis Rodríguez hayan decidido que no importamos, no estamos derrotados, ni han cambiado una familia. Lo más valioso es paz, es la conexión en
Te
nuestros
quedan 30
estudiantes.
segundos, por favor, concluye.
Nuestros estudiantes y personal somos pequeños, pero somos fuertes. Aquí estamos todos, conocemos, no cuidamos y no nos apoyan. No queremos que nos separen por decisiones mal tomadas sin pensar en el bienestar de nuestros hijos. Exigimos que haya respuestas.
Thank you. We'll now have our translator interpret the statement.
Good mornings, member of the CPS board. My name is Maricela Lopez, and I am the mother of a student at Acero Pass Elementary. Our school has existed since 1998, and for many years it was a strong and vibrant school community. But Acero has abandoned us. They stopped investing in our school, did nothing to increase student enrollment, and let the building fall into oblivion. And now it is our families and our children who pay the price of their negligence. But it's not just Acero's fault. Pedro Martinez and Rich Rodriguez have also failed us. They are Latino leaders in this system, but instead of protecting our community, they have allowed us to be wiped from the map. How can they look parents in the eye and tell us that they fight for Latino students when they are letting schools close? They betrayed us. We do value our schools, even after Acero, Pedro Martinez, and Rich Rodriguez have decided that we do not matter. They are taking away our home, a community, a family. The most valuable thing about PAS is the connection between our students and our staff. Our staff are small, but we are strong. Here we know each other, take care of each other, but we get no support. We don't want to be separated by decisions made without thinking about the well-being of our children. We demand that they help us find a new home together.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Anayeli Salgado, speaker 26.
Buenos días, miembros de CPS. Mi nombre es Anayeli Salgado. Soy madre de un estudiante de Acero Pass Elementary. Mi nombre es Anayeli Salgado. Soy madre y estudiante de Acero Pass Elementary. Hoy estamos aquí porque estoy furiosa y decepcionada. Nuestra comunidad ha sido ignorada y traicionada y olvidada por los mismos líderes que prometieron representarnos. Pedro Martínez, Rich Rodríguez. El cierre de nuestra escuela no es solo una decisión administrativa, es un ataque a nuestras familias, a nuestros hijos y a nuestro derecho de una educación digna. ¿Cómo es posible que los líderes latinos en este sistema permitan que esto suceda? En una comunidad como Little Village, donde siempre nos dejan al final de la lista. ¿Dónde está su compromiso con nuestras familias? Mi hijo está devastado igual que los 90 estudiantes de segundo y séptimo grado, que ahora no saben qué pasará con su educación. No tenemos respuesta. Solo nos han dicho que en junio nuestra escuela cerrará. ¿Y después qué? Exigimos que nos escuchen, que actúen. Queremos una solución real para mantener unida nuestra comunidad escolar. Nosotros somos un número, no somos un número en un informe, somos familia, con hijos que merecen estabilidad y educación de calidad. No aceptaremos excusas ni promesas vacías, exigimos respuestas y acción. Ahora, gracias.
Good morning, CPS members. My name is Anayeli Salgado, and I am the mother of a student at Acero Pass Elementary. We're here today because I'm furious and disappointed. Our community has been ignored, betrayed, and forgotten by the same leaders who promised to represent us, Pedro Martinez and Rich Rodriguez. The closure of our school is not only an administrative decision, it is an attack on our families, our children, and our right to a dignified education. How is it possible that Latino leaders in this system allow this to happen in a community like Little Village, where we're always left at the end of the list? Where is your commitment to our families? My son is devastated, just like the 90 students from 4th to 7th grade who now don't know what will happen to their education. We have no answers. We have only been told that in June our school will close. And then what? We demand that they listen to us and act. We want a real solution to keep our school community together. We are not a number in a ledger. We are families with children who deserve stability and quality education. We will not accept excuses or empty promises. We demand answers and action now. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next group of speakers are from Illinois Network of Charter Schools. Kikanza Harris, speaker number 2, and Allison Jack, speaker number 17.
Good morning. I'm Kikanza Harris, Director of Community Impact for Illinois Network of Charter Schools. We often forget in the discussions about charter schools, these schools are community schools embedded in Chicago's neighborhoods, serving some of the most vulnerable students in our city. Last week, I visited a charter school representing one of the most diverse student populations in all of Chicago. More than 30 languages spoken. Imagine a classroom with 10 different languages, 10 different cultural backgrounds, 10 different lived experiences coming together in one classroom. I also talked to one of the teachers who switched careers from teaching ESL to adults to teaching ESL to children. Why? Because she recognizes what's at stake for many of our students, many who have endured unimaginable trauma. What do I mean by trauma? In the span of just 2 weeks, one charter school first grader witnessed his father's beheading in his home country. He was then put on a plane with the only family he had left and sent to Chicago. He was in a new country, alone, scared, and in a foreign classroom with a foreign language, surrounded by strangers. This is not just one child's experience. Many of our students in our charter schools have experienced severe trauma and carry the heavy burden of violence, loss, and displacement. And despite the trauma, these children still show up, and their families choose charter schools because they know charter public schools will meet them where they are and help them find a path forward. Our charter school
You
leaders
have 30 seconds
and
remaining.
staff includes almost 5,000 teachers are unwavering in their commitment to meet the needs of students like the little boy from Afghanistan, just like they do the thousands of Black and Latino students who have been impacted by gun violence, poverty, and trauma in our own neighborhoods. As the Director of Community Impact, I've met with dozens of community organizations in the last 6 months at INCS. And what I've found is that these organizations want to help our charter students, they want to partner with charter schools, and they want to engage with charters around the city in efforts to create more safety, inclusion, and belonging for our students. We cannot continue to treat charter school students and families as though their choices don't matter.
Please conclude your
Policies
remarks.
surrounding charter school renewals must be fair, transparent, and equitable. No charter should receive less than a 3-year renewal, and high-performing charter schools should be awarded 10-year renewals. Without fair renewals, you are telling these families that their choice doesn't matter
Please
and their
conclude your
children don't
remarks.
count.
Thank you. Our next speaker, Allison Jack, speaker 17.
Good morning. I'm Allison Jack from INCS as well. On behalf of the charter public school community and the 55,000 Chicago families in charters across the city, INCS feels compelled to correct the record for the misstatements and inaccuracies made about charters in last week's board meeting. First, a few board members and the CTU made false statements that aim to mislead the public into believing that charter public schools are for-profit private corporations or companies This is patently false. Illinois law is clear on this fact. Section 27A5 of the school code. A charter school shall be public, non-sectarian, non-religion, non-home-based, and a nonprofit school. Inks in the charter school community are disappointed to see these continued attacks on charter schools in blatant service of CTU's political agenda. It's a disservice to students and families to push false narratives that are clearly debunked by state law, and it's time to take the politics out of education. Second, the charter community is disheartened to see an education leader who claims to represent the best interests of charter schools, their students, and the 1/3 of charter school teachers who are unionized, blatantly spread misinformation and advocate for short renewal terms for her members. Jen Conant misstated last week that 10 years ago, CPS gave out 10-year renewal terms. Again, this lie is easily debunked by a Google search. This law was passed in 2017, allowing 10-year renewals. While there are several charter schools, and you'll hear from one today, that
You have
clearly
30
deserve
seconds remaining.
a 10-year renewal as they operate some of the highest performing non-selective schools in the city. This unfortunate reality is that CPS has set an artificial cap of 5 years. This hurts schools and students. We urge you to vote for sustainable schools and non-punitive renewal terms on March 20th. 7-year renewal terms for 7 to 10 for high-performing schools, 5 to 7 for schools that are meeting standards, and no less than 3-year terms for schools that are in need of support. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comments. Our next speaker is Randy Stonewall, speaker number 3, who is joining us virtually. Please enter *6 to unmute. Randy Stonewall, speaker number 3, please enter *6 to unmute. Randy Stonewall, speaker number 3,
Yes.
please proceed.
Hi, my name is Randy Stonewall, calling from North Lundale College Prep High School, where I serve as a paraprofessional as well as the head boys basketball coach and cross country. And I want to speak more in regards to being the father who actually had a student daughter, alumni of North Lundale, who was a famous type scholar, which she was allowed to attend Boogaloo University in Mississippi, where she was a pillar there, and North Lundale had a lot to do with her upbringing and being able to graduate from Boogaloo with that famous type scholarship, which allowed her financial support, emotional support, and I just got a chance to see her resilience day to day as she grew. North Lundale was a launch pad for her. It allowed her to grow and be the woman that she is today, who's now actually teaching preschool herself. And the Famous Type Scholarship allowed that because it does cover some of the costs that a lot of students in the North London community don't have that support to.
You have 30
to
seconds remaining.
become whatever that is that they're seeking out to be as adults. So I encourage and support North Londale being renewed with the charter renewal process, not only for the community, but for the students and parents of this great place who deserves the opportunity to continue to keep the North Londale legacy going. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Our next speaker is Carla Rivera, speaker number 4.
Good morning. My name is Carla Rivera. I am a parent of a first grade student at Virgil Grissom Elementary. I also have a pre-K student at Harry Clay, both located in Hedwig neighborhood. I am also a parent leader in our Conscious Parents on African American Children's CPAC program, which teaches parents skills to be more involved in the academic growth of their children. I cannot overstate the positive impact that this program has had in growing parents' involvement at our school from only 4 parents to 20 parents, to more than 20 parents. For many years, parents in Hedwig have felt that our school have been left behind when it comes to school building improvements, and our neighborhoods has also been negatively impacted by the levels of pollution and environmental issues. I strongly feel that Grissom deserves your help and support to expand and improve our school building because our current overcrowding building is not meeting the needs of our students and parents who have meetings there. Our kindergarten and pre-K classes are in a separate building due to overcrowding. My son has an IEP, and Grissom currently doesn't have a combined classroom for 3-year-old children like my son. I can also see how hard our teachers struggle with overcrowding classes. Despite this, our teachers still go above and beyond to support our children. I know that teachers have been asking CPS to agree to a small class size and more librarians in their union contract. As a parent, I ask CPS to agree to these very basic demands for the sake of our children. But as an overcrowding
You have
building,
30 seconds
constructing an
remaining.
annex Grissom will be necessary to create the space needed for smaller classes and enough room for a librarian. The students and staff at Grissom also deserve a more and modern and environmental sustainable building that will reduce pollution and actually generate money for CPS. We ask the board to support the installation of solar panels at our school and provide learning opportunities for students to discover green careers in their own community. It is not fair that Grissom has been waiting for 20 years for building improvements. Board members, please provide the space that our hardworking teachers and staff need to ensure a happier and healthier environment for our children. Parents at Grissom are already making a positive
Please
difference,
conclude your
but we
remarks.
need your help to provide everything our children's need. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Our next speaker is Gordon Hannon, speaker number 5.
Good morning. I'm Gordon Hannon, a CPS parent, lifetime educator, native Southsider, currently the CEO of Catalyst Charter Schools. I have been through 4 charter renewal cycles. We can be smarter and wiser. Catalyst Maria and Catalyst Circle Rock are up for renewal. They are community anchor schools. They've been around for nearly 20 years. They've shown financial integrity, stellar academic performance, and right relationship. They are always at capacity. These schools have earned a long-term renewal. But more importantly, the Chicago lawn and the Austin communities deserve everything these community schools bring. These communities deserve a long-term renewal. From your own website, CPS's 5-year vision, known as Together We Rise, works to create anti-racist solutions that address systemic disinvestment. Given the performance and the impact of our Catalyst schools, anything less than a 5-7 renewal would be perceived as an actual disinvestment in these neighborhoods. What message do we send to over 1,600 families investing in their homes and neighborhoods when we hand them a short-term commitment? What about Northwestern, Grumman, and Ravinia, who are investing thousands of dollars in a pipeline of young artists, doctors, and engineers of color through us? Our aldermen, community and political leaders have recognized and endorsed the value of Catalyst schools. I ask you to invest in these communities with a renewal term of 7 to 10 years that builds in wiser, smarter terms of mutual accountability. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Our next group of speakers are from the Chicago Teachers Union. We'll start with Kurt Hilgendorf, speaker number 7, who is joining virtually. Jim Starro, speaker number 8. Latoya Kimbrough, speaker number 11. Pavlin Jankov, speaker number 13. James Cavallero, speaker number 14. Jackson Potter, speaker number 18. Diane Castro, speaker 20. Leah Rifanti, speaker number 22. Zedra Foster, speaker 23. Thaddeus Goodchild, speaker 24. And Linda Perales, speaker 28. We'll begin with Kurt Hilgendorf, speaker number 7, who's joining us virtually. Please enter *6 to unmute.
Good morning, members of the Chicago Board of Education. My name is Kurt Hilgendorf. I'm the Legislative and Political Director at the Chicago Teachers Union and a parent of a CPS first grader. I'm coming to you from Springfield, and I'm here to speak to the district's legislative agenda, both what the district supports and what the district opposes. I encourage you to pass an agenda that advances the district's holistic interests and meets the board's values. I'll talk through 2 different issues to illustrate the board's options. The first issue is teacher evaluation in Chicago and in Illinois. In short, the system is burdensome to administer and biased against Black and Latina teachers. The legislature and school districts in Illinois have made proposals to address both of those issues. However, CPS administration has been behind the rest of the state stakeholders when it comes to adopting the state's educator evaluation statutes and practices. A 2021 Illinois law allows proficient and excellent rated tenured educators to move to a 3-year evaluation cycle instead of a 2-year cycle. This reduces the time to administer the system and allows principals to focus on educators who need more support. Districts across Illinois have moved to this cycle, but CPS has not. The district should make this change to better align its resources and support. Additionally, we've known since at least 2016 that the REACH system in Chicago has demonstrated a pattern of bias against Black and Latina teachers, not because of a lack of skill, but because of where they tend to work. And a state report released last summer came to the same conclusion. Despite these consistent findings, CPS administration has opposed a bill that would require the district to renegotiate the system to address these bias issues. As President Davis Gates mentioned, research is abundantly clear that having even one Black teacher produces impressive performance improvements for Black students and all other students. The second issue is the foundational issue for this board, school funding. The governor's proposed budget includes the statutory minimum for a statewide school funding increase. While welcome, that proposed increase means about $30 million in funding for a district that's more than $1 billion underfunded. And that amount is proposed before we understand the full scope of the Trump and Musk attack on public education. That's too small in any scenario. The only way that we will increase school funding is to raise state revenue.
Remarks.
Thank you. And ensure that money goes to schools. That change requires a massive campaign, and the CTU is committed to deploying significant resources to support it. The district will need to deploy far more than it has to date shown to make new funding a reality. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comments. Our next speaker is Jim Starro, speaker number 8.
Good morning. My name is Jim Starros. I'm a former CPS teacher, parent of 4 students who graduated from CPS and current field rep at Chicago Teachers Union. One significant issue CPS leadership brings up in contract negotiations is lost or potentially lost instructional time for students. The lack of substitute or guest teachers is one area where lost time is not only being ignored, but amplified by CPS's reluctance to address some of the most basic issues for our guest teachers, such as the general lack of respect and concern for them, lack of paid professional development days afforded other CPS employees, and low overall pay and incentives. Post-pandemic, there's been an increase in teacher absences and a corresponding increase in requests for guest teachers. Throughout the pandemic and into the 24 school year, CTU advocated for and won targeted incentives to increase the number of guest teachers available, precisely because they understood that guest teachers were needed for continuity in the learning process in a time with increased teacher absences. This raised the number of filled vacancies from 250,000 in 2019, the last full school year before the pandemic, to over 300,000 in 2024. Despite this increase, there are still over 80,000 unfilled positions in the 24 school year. But instead of expanding on the successful incentive program, CPS decided to end it and go back to pre-pandemic policy where the lowest paid guest teachers barely make minimum wage and earn no incentives. For these members, losing incentives constitute a 30 to 50% pay cut in their salary. By CPS cutting these stipends, fill rates will likely drop back to the 2019 levels, and we can expect more than a 50% increase in unfilled vacancies.
You have 30 seconds remaining.
In a letter sent by guest teachers to CEO Pedro Martinez 2 weeks ago, it was pointed out that many large districts such as LA, New York, Philadelphia, and San Jose are all outpacing Chicago in various compensation schemes and corresponding fill rates. If members of the board are seriously concerned with students staying on track, they should direct CPS to reconsider the lack of incentive pay, as well as other financial and non-financial incentives to attract and retain sufficient coverage so students are in front of a qualified and licensed adult at all times. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Our next speaker is Latoya Kimbrough, speaker number 11.
Good morning. My name is Latoya Kimbrough, and not only am I a member of the CTU bargaining team and a CTU staffer, I'm a graduate of the Chicago Public Schools, and I'm a current parent of a CPS third grader. It's a full circle moment to be here speaking in front of you today because I vividly remember speaking in front of the CPS board as a high school student, begging the board not to close my high school, Inglewood High School. So it hits me very hard when I heard our Acero family speaking. I'm here today to express my extreme disappointment that after 11 months of extensive bargaining, that we still do not have a contract, despite having a supportive mayor, an elected school board, alignment between our proposals and the CPS 5-year strategic plan, and CPS being in the best financial situation in over a decade. While we could be using this time during a hostile federal administration focusing on fortifying the protections for our most vulnerable students and addressing the lack of paraprofessional support, specifically teachers' assistants, CPS, specifically CEO Martinez, is using the very limited and valuable CPS resources to push his own personal agenda. This issue is personal for me since I will have a student in the 4th grade next year, and CPS, their current
30
class
seconds
size
remaining.
proposal increases the class size significantly. It's not too much to ask that schools are adequately staffed with teachers' assistants and that these TAs not be laid off at the end of the school year, just to be rehired the following school year when there are too many students, not enough teachers in oversized classrooms. It's not too much to ask that paraprofessionals receive due process before they are terminated. 20 years ago, I was sorely
Please
disappointed
conclude
as
your
a
remarks.
student when I and my concerns went unaddressed. You have the opportunity to say enough and make CEO Martinez and his team get serious at the bargaining table and bring this process to an end, to provide CPS students, teachers, staff, and all stakeholders in the schools with the schools that they deserve. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Our next speaker, Pavlin Jankov, speaker number 13.
Good morning, Board of Education. My name is Pavlin Jankov, the Director of Research at the Chicago Teachers Union. So to implement the pillars of the transformative contract, we are going to need new revenue. And in a state that ranks the 8th most regressive in tax structure and an education funding system that ranks an F in funding equity, it's no surprise that austerity logic has proliferated across school governance in the past. Cuts instead of investments, do more with less, actually exactly the kind of rhetoric we're hearing from the federal government today. So we need as board and administration to firmly reject that logic and join us in Springfield to push for new revenue, not cuts. And 30 years ago this year, there was another pivotal change for CPS. In 1995, we had mayoral control established. CTU actually lost our bargaining rights over class size and staffing. There were also funding changes. The early 90s was a fiscal crisis for the schools. CPS desperately needed the state to step up support for education funding. But the Republican-controlled state legislature wasn't about to hand CPS a lifeline. Instead of providing more funding, the legislature folded in the pension levy and the facilities funding levy for CPS into the operations line. So the answer from the state then was, don't bother maintaining your facilities, and if you want to keep schools running, cannibalize your pension fund. And we saw the ramifications of that, a decade plus without a single pension payment under Paul Vallis and Arnie Duncan, and neighborhood school
You have 30
facilities were
seconds
crumbling,
remaining.
and then subsequently mass closings. So we say CPS has never had the funding to pay for the needs of our students because the state has never stepped up to fulfill that obligation with progressive revenue. So to fix school funding for CPS, we need a sweeping change in the Illinois tax structure. There are solutions on the table. We are part of a progressive statewide coalition, the Illinois Revenue Alliance, that has estimated that we can raise billions in funding statewide if we close the corporate tax loopholes, end carried interest rate, fix rules around corporate offshore and international income reporting, tax digital
Please
advertising, and
conclude
wealth.
your remarks.
There are lots of options on the table. We need to settle this transformative contract and see you all down in Springfield with us so we can change the tax structure in Illinois. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Our next speaker is James Cavallero, speaker number 14.
Good morning, board members. My name is Jim Cavallero, and I was a special education teacher in CPS for 26 years. Prior to my current role as an organizer and special education committee co-liaison with the Chicago Teachers Union. I served on the CTU big bargaining teams in 2012, 2015, and 2019 as a rank and file special education teacher. In that time, I've seen us, CTU and CPS, come to agreement through collaboration to build special education improvements into our contract that have benefited both our special educators and students with disabilities. This bargaining cycle, we have also, in collaboration, come to agreement on proposals, some new and some improving on previous contract articles that again benefit our special educators and students with disabilities. A few of those proposals that our special educators have indicated are most important to them and their students that we've come to agreement on include significantly lowering the number of students with IEPs to allocate for both a half-time and full-time case manager in our school, including considerations of speech-only IEPs and 504 plans. This agreement provides equity for our schools, whether they're a small school with a couple hundred students or a large school with thousands. It will decrease the workload of our hardworking, dedicated case managers and help to ensure our students with disabilities are seen as and advocated for as the individuals that they are and not just a name on paper. We've come to agreement that special education-specific professional development will be available to our special educators. This will give them the opportunity to gain knowledge and participate in training on current methods and techniques in working with students with
You have
disabilities.
30 seconds remaining.
We've also come to agreement on recognizing our special educators as professionals by ensuring that they won't be pulled as substitutes and their students miss time, the special education service that they're supposed to be provided. We've also guaranteed they're having self-directed preparation time and collaboration time with other special educators, general education tutors, and clinicians. These agreements were not easy to come to, but due to dedicated work and compromise on both sides of the bargaining table, we've made them happen. That's why I know, and our 30,000 CTU members know, this contract can't be settled now. The remaining items
Please
are
conclude
critical.
your remarks.
Our students need experienced veteran educators who look like them and are evaluated fairly, and have the time to prepare to teach them. We can absolutely come to agreement on these items and provide the schools that all of our stakeholders deserve. Thank you.
Thank you for your remarks. Our next speaker is Jackson Potter, speaker number 18.
Good morning. I don't have a song for you today, but I was going to describe some of our greatest misses under Rahm Emanuel's tenure and what he did so that we can kind of see our progress and peril from 2012 to now. Part of why we gave you a last best final offer today is to settle this agreement and emblazon our commitment and values together for the things our students need and deserve. Back in 12, and Rahm Emanuel came to us from working with former Governor Bruce Rauner, who tried to break state government so we could never fix it, similar to what Elon Musk is doing at the federal level. Rahm did a lot of that here. He appointed CEO Forrest Claypool that did record violations of special education law and put the system under state oversight. He closed a record number of mental health clinics. We've had to rebuild that through clinical supports and interventions and therapeutic services in our system. We've had to rebuild the SPED program through the ELPTs and through case management that has been described already by Jim. We saw Rahm Emanuel come in and close schools, the largest number of black schools in U.S. history. Your board member, G2 Brown, has reopened closed schools. You have just made a decision to keep charter schools open and absorb them into the system as public schools. We are reversing that harmful trend of destruction.
You have 30 seconds remaining.
Additionally, we know that, Rahm Emanuel got rid of prep time. You have already agreed to restore some of it. We think more is necessary for equity across high school and elementary. And lastly, we are on a path of reconstruction. We can't go back to those bad days of privatization and runaway trains of school closings and attacks on black and brown students. We know Rahm Emanuel helped appoint Tim Homan as the board czar under Obama. And look at what he's doing to our students. We instead have put in sanctuary language that is a model for the country. We can do this together. We've done it well so far, as have your predecessors, and we will need to do more of it. Please settle this historic agreement. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Our next speaker is Diane Castro, speaker number 20, who is joining us virtually. Please enter *6 to unmute.
Good morning. My name is Dr. Diane Castro, and I'm speaking today as a parent and educator with 18 years of experience as a bilingual preschool teacher regarding the necessity of finalizing negotiations with the CTU and landing a contract that will be transformational for our district. As you consider your agenda items, it is imperative that you also consider the cost of our contract. And I'm not just speaking on the economic costs, but also the cost that our students, families, and communities will pay without our contract being settled. In these tumultuous times, we are bombarded with the reality that our current president is in the process of dismantling the Department of Education and doing away with diversity, equity, and inclusion, all major tenets to what we do in our classrooms and what I want as a mother for my own children. I have a 7th grader and a 5th grader that attend a CPS elementary school, just like their parents did before them. It is mind-boggling that the issues that I faced as a student are so prevalent today. My Latina children do not see themselves reflected in the curriculum. There is still an over-reliance on standardized tests that stress our children out and affect their mental health. Our students deserve learning that educates beyond test prep. As an educator, I know the time and dedication it takes to plan lessons. Educators need the additional prep time to do so, and we must have the additional staffing support, especially in early childhood classrooms, pre-K through 2nd grade. The idea that providing teachers with prep time detracts from instruction highlights an inability to understand the different ways students learn, and this offends me. I cannot abide hearing that my children, my students, do not deserve a better school day. As I am sure many of you understand, being former educators, we cannot leave the table without securing this language. I am a firm believer in collaboration. I've learned the necessity of this as an educator who works alongside an incredible paraprofessional. I am asking you all to work with the CTU as we move forward. We are on the cusp of a monumental contract, and we, the parents, the educators, the people, task you with partnering with the CTU rather than co-signing in complicity with the dismantling of everything we hold necessary and imperative for our students and children to achieve. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Before we call the next speaker, I do want to state for the record that Vice President Bautista has joined the meeting at 11:32 a.m. Our next speaker is Leah Rafanti, speaker number 22.
Good morning. My name is Leah Rafanti, and I'm a CTU field representative. I represent all of the CPS citywide clinicians. I also represent teachers and staff at over 20 CPS elementary schools. I also represent members at 3 charter companies. Acero is one of them, but I'm here to talk about clinicians. There are over 1,800 citywide clinicians. These are your nurses, psychologists, social workers, speech language pathologists, physical therapists, and occupational therapists. 1,800 might sound like a lot, but this is criminally below what is necessary to provide IEP minutes, 504 plan minutes, medical care, and the emotional supports students need in every school. Please ask CPS how many students are not receiving legally mandated IEP and 504 minutes due to CPS's historic and chronic understaffing. How many due process claims is CPS opening the district up for by not having enough clinicians to support student needs? Clinicians in every department are overworked with ballooning workloads. Burnout is real. I can tell you that from the amount of times I talk sobbing clinicians through on a daily basis in my office. So burnout is real, and it can be addressed through some of the union's contract proposals. CPS, from my understanding, CPS has yet to agree to the following items we've proposed. Provide workspaces that are safe for students and staff and are appropriate for service delivery. Seek maximum Medicaid reimbursement for social work services. Bargain a workload plan with the
You
union.
have 30 seconds remaining.
ISB rules. Prioritize clinician recruitment and speed up the hiring process. Lastly, I want to point out one more perplexing aspect of these negotiations. CPS has only made one salary offer to the union. One. I have bargained many union contracts with charter companies over the last 10 years. Uno Acero, CICS Civitas Meridian, Namaste, Latino Youth High School, advised colleagues at bargaining at all the other charter companies we represent members at. And I have never seen an employer just offer one salary proposal and say, take it or leave it. Even the most anti-union hostile, union-busting charter boss actually engages in
Please
salary
conclude your
bargaining.
remarks.
Thank you. So what is CPS doing? Did CEO Martinez forget how to bargain a contract? He says we're close, but as far as I know, he hasn't come to a single session and hasn't allowed his team to make another salary proposal. It's really bizarre. CPS and CEO,
Please
CPS and
conclude
the
your
CEO
remarks.
should be answering to you as Board of Ed. Tell them to get serious about bargaining salary and the other outstanding items, and let's settle this. Thanks.
Thank you for your comments. Our next speaker is Zedra Foster, speaker 23.
Good morning. My name is Zedra Foster, and I'm the director of the grievance department here at the Chicago Teachers Union. I began my teaching career at Inglewood High School in 2002. I'm the mother of 3 college-age young men, all of whom are graduates of Chicago Public Schools. So 11 months ago, we began our contract negotiations where we submitted over 700 proposals to CPS and CEO Martinez. And these proposals were designed by our rank and file members across every constituency group of our membership. These proposals were designed to transform and lay the groundwork for the educational experiences of over 300,000 students who attend Chicago Public Schools. We've made a lot of progress over the last 11 months. We now find ourselves at a pivotal point in the negotiations where we have 5 unresolved issues that our membership have identified as priorities. The priorities include enforceable class size limits, increased staffing, improvements to the evaluation system, investments in our veteran educators, and a better elementary school day. Our proposal on the elementary school day includes robust course offerings such as fine arts, music, world language, and technology, fully functioning libraries with librarians. We also need adequate staffing such as social workers, clinicians, and nurses to provide the wraparound services that our students so desperately need. In addition to those things, we also know that the Better School Day also includes more collaboration and planning time for our educators.
You have 30 seconds remaining.
We believe that the district can provide more collaboration time and also provide enrichment opportunities for our students. Equally important are our demands regarding lower class sizes. We have made tremendous progress in making sure to adjust the class size limits for our younger students, but there's still work that needs to be done with grades 4 through 8. Our class size language is also directly connected to our staffing demands regarding our teacher assistants who provide the much needed support to our students and educators in the classroom. We believe our demands are achievable, and we appreciate the progress that we've been able to accomplish with our CPS labor partners. But we are
Please
at the
conclude
finish
your
line.
remarks.
It's time to get a deal and say yes to the contract that our students deserve.
Thank you for your comments. Our next speaker is Thaddeus Goodchild, speaker 24.
Good morning, President Harden and members of the board. My name is Thad Goodchild, and I am Deputy General Counsel for the Chicago Teachers Union. I've had the privilege of serving as in-house counsel for CTU since 2012 and have been at the bargaining table for each of the last 3 contract cycles. After nearly a year of negotiations, over 100 bargaining sessions, and the exchange of thousands of proposals, we are close to reaching an agreement that would be an historic achievement for all of the school district stakeholders. I want to extend my gratitude to CPS's chief negotiators, Miguel Peretta, Sally Scott, Bogdana Chokumva, and Ben Felton, for their dedication and hard work at finding compromises on bargaining topics that will improve working conditions for educators and learning conditions for students. Thanks to their efforts and the efforts of the C2 officers and rank and file educators from across the city, we've reached tentative agreements on scores of issues that will transform CPS. As you have heard, there are 5 key issues that remain on the bargaining table. I will briefly address 2 of them. First, there have been multiple independent studies that have found significant disparate racial impact in the current teacher evaluation system. The single greatest predictor of a teacher's evaluation score is the zip code in which the school resides. That means the district's current teacher evaluation system measures community poverty more accurately than it measures teacher performance. We are close to an agreement that would address these issues, and we need to get it done. Second, the CPS salary schedule has competitive starting salaries for
You
teachers
have
in their
30 seconds
careers
remaining.
early on, but salaries stagnate later in careers. This makes CPS an attractive place for teachers to work for a few years right out of college, then leave for suburban school districts. The cost of the difference between our proposals on this issue is only about 0.1% of the district's operating budget, but it also represents the difference between educators' decisions about whether they can make a career of teaching in CPS. CPS can afford to change this, and we need to get it done. We are at the stage of negotiations now that will decide if we are headed toward a big, messy, unnecessary fight or headed toward landing an historic, transformative agreement. There
Please
needs to
conclude
be
your remarks.
urgency from the board and from the CEO and his team to do just that. We submitted to CPS today a last, best, and final offer that should land this contract. Let's not snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. And our last speaker from the Chicago Teachers Union Group is Linda Perales, speaker 28.
Hello, Board of Ed members. My name is Linda Perales. I'm a lifelong Chicagoan, a product of CPS, a bilingual special ed teacher currently on leave from the classroom, and I'm an organizer with the Chicago Teachers Union. As a student of CPS, I witnessed firsthand the inequities within our school system, having experienced a school without a lunchroom, without an art classroom, and without a librarian. And we're still fighting for those things now. I experienced these inequities from a different perspective when I became a teacher. I was a bilingual special ed teacher for K through 3rd grade, sometimes 4th grade too, servicing students that required English language instruction and Spanish language instruction, and all of these kids were in my classroom at the same time. So students with the biggest needs had a teacher in front of them that was stretched so thin, doing the job of multiple teachers. How was that fair to our most vulnerable students? Our contract is attempting to remedy these inequities because our students deserve more. That's why as an organizer, I have been at the bargaining table for the past 10 months, along with bilingual ed teacher leaders trying to negotiate with CPS long-awaited and desperately needed improvements for bilingual ed in our district. Imagine being a newcomer at Nash, a historically Black school where you've been welcomed with open arms by your teachers, but don't understand the word of what's being said during a lesson because there's no bilingual staff or resources in the building. Or imagine being one of over 100 newcomers at Cameron, where you don't have access to an ESL curriculum to learn English. Or Roosevelt, where high school students with
You have 30
interrupted
seconds remaining.
education are expected to be enrolled in classes without support to help fill the gaps in their academic experience. Or Prosser, where you should legally be receiving native language instruction, but there's not a single class in Spanish because bilingual ed law is not being followed. Or Clinton, where there's dozens of languages in one school building and a single teacher is expected to conduct business as usual, where there are 4 different languages in her small group lesson. We've proposed, negotiated, and compromised with CPS around bilingual ed. We've agreed on dual language expansion. We've
Please
agreed on
conclude your remarks.
teacher endorsements to improve bilingual ed staffing, but we have these 5 major issues left on the table. You got the petitions, our members are in agreement. Veteran pay means that students have a
Please
teacher
conclude your
with
remarks.
experience that can teach them effectively. Reach and academic freedom means that their teachers will be fairly evaluated, that students will have the opportunity to learn their history. Prep time means that students will learn highly engaging
conclude your
lessons
remarks.
because their teacher had the time to plan those lessons. Smaller class sizes and staffing means that students get individualized attention and the librarians, nurses, social workers, and more that they deserve. Our students deserve this, and we can land this contract now. Our students need it.
Thank you for your comments. Our next speaker is Marielle Laureano, speaker number 12.
Please keep all comments to 2 minutes, please. Good morning. I'm Maria Laureano, a director at the Chicago Public Education Fund, an organization that provides leadership development programming to over 350 Chicago leaders. As a former principal, I know firsthand the importance, responsibility, and challenges of managing a school budget. This is a difficult task in a district that is only funded at 79% adequacy. 79% adequacy. And yet this board is being asked to approve a $175 million pension payment that CPS is not legally obligated to pay. That one choice will prevent CPS from having enough revenue to cover the new teacher's contract. We understand that borrowing now is not an option. I served through CPS's last financial crisis. For 10 years, I led Prieto Math and Science Academy, a dual language school in the Belmont-Cragen community. Between 2014 and 2017, CPS ran consecutive budget deficits of over $1 billion, just like the projected shortfalls in CPS's 5-year outlook today. I saw firsthand what that meant in schools like mine: impactful staff cuts, loss of student supports, and frustrated parents. If you choose to make this payment, CPS's only way forward for next year's budget is to
You
borrow
have 30
again.
seconds remaining.
Please don't take that risk. Instead, prioritize the needs of school communities. Use CPS's revenue for labor agreements for teachers and principals. Do what's right for principals, for teachers, and most importantly, for students. When it comes before you, we encourage you, vote no to this unnecessary pension reimbursement. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Our next speaker is Dr. Quintella Bounds, speaker number 16, who is joining us virtually. Please enter *6 to unmute.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, please proceed.
Good afternoon. My name is Dr. Quintella Bounds. As a member of the Chicago Teachers Union Big Bargaining Team, it is an honor to represent the voices of our educators, and I am grateful for the continued support in making our district schools stronger. Today, I wish to emphasize the critical issue on the racially discriminatory evaluation system within CPS. As a special education case manager for 2 schools, Corliss and King High School, my caseload consists of 188 students with disabilities and 59 students with 504 plans. Under our current CBA, a full-time case manager is responsible for managing 105 students with IEPs. However, given my dual responsibility at both campuses, I am overseeing more than double that caseload. This arrangement is overwhelmingly, and despite my request for additional assistance, I have not received the support necessary to meet the needs of these students. In order to fulfill the obligations set forth by federal, state, and CPS regulations, I would be required to work 20-hour days, which is not sustainable or realistic. As a result, my physical and mental health has taken a serious toll. And this situation is unfair not only to me, but also to the students and their families and the staff at both schools. As a Black educator who chooses to work in under-resourced schools, I am also in danger of being penalized by negative evaluations under the current evaluation system.
You have 30
You
seconds
can
remaining.
imagine how an educator with twice the number of students that I should have could receive a less than excellent evaluation. I have seen this happen to my colleagues, hurting the very educators and the students we are here to serve. That is why this contract must eliminate the racial bias in our evaluation system. We need a contract and we need it now. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comments. Our next speaker is Kendrick Hall, speaker number 19.
Good morning, Board of Education. My name is Kendrick Hall. I currently reside in the Pullman area and am a former CPS parent. For the last 5 years, I have worked as a community organizer with the People for Community Recovery. We are a Black-led organization based in Altgeld Gardens, on the far south side of Chicago. We are one of the oldest environmental justice organizations in the country. I am here to urge CPS to partner with environmental justice communities like the one I serve by investing in clean energy projects that provide our children with healthier learning environments and pathways to good jobs. The parents I talk to at neighborhood schools such as Aldrich, Dubois, and Carver want to see CPS transition to clean energy. Parents from my community dream of schools providing their children with a pipeline into good-paying green construction jobs like solar installation. Clean energy projects can reduce indoor air pollution, create learning and job training opportunities for our children, and save the district money on energy bills all at once. PCR and our allies in the Healthy Green Schools Coalition call on CPS to invest in clean energy projects such as rooftop solar and environmental justice communities across the city, whether in Allgill, the East Side, Rogers Park, Austin, or Little Village. I must also add the health of our community is deeply tied to the work of the educators who work every day in it. And so we fully support their demands for a new contract. With Black and
You have
brown
30 seconds
communities under attack by Trump, now more than ever, we need CPS to stand with us. One clear way board members can do that is by pushing CPS to invest in clean energy projects that reduce pollution and boost economic opportunities for the young people in Allgill. Help me go back to my community with a message of hope. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. And the last speaker from the registered speakers list is Karina Dema, who is joining us virtually. Please enter *6 to unmute.
Good morning. My name is Karina Dema, and I'm here today as a mother of 2 CPS students. I'm a former CPS teacher, and I myself attended CPS. I'm also here as a senior organizer with Educators for Excellence, representing almost 8,000 CPS educators. At Educators for Excellence, we bring teacher voice to policy tables and decision makers, be it at the state level or the district, like today. During the passage of the elected school board maps by the Illinois General Assembly, our teachers testified numerous times on the absolute necessity of including a Black Student Achievement Committee into the law. The reason being that district leadership can change, strategic plans can be rolled back, but the law is the law. Our testimony was in support and partnership of some of the original minds that first sounded the alarm about the need to focus on this particular underinvested population of our community. Folks like Valerie Leonard, Natasha Dunn, and the other good folks at the Illinois African Americans for Equitable Redistricting. They definitely deserve a shout out for this work. I want to let you all know that as we speak, teachers are holding meetings at schools across Chicago with their fellow educators about this, and wondering why this law that was passed in the spring of last year isn't being followed. While we applaud the great work of the Black Student Success Plan, we remain disappointed that the Black Student Achievement Committee is not included. This committee is to be chaired by a board member, with the remaining members to be appointed by the president of the board. We are calling on the board to stop hesitating and file a resolution to establish.
You have
this
30
committee.
seconds remaining.
Thank you. We are calling on the board to add this to the agenda today. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. President Harden, this concludes public participation.
Board members, are there any questions or comments related to public participation? Board Member Lopez.
Thank you, President. Just wondering and asking for CEO Martinez if there's any updates or when families can expect an update to hear regarding Paz and Cruz. Thank you.
I know that our team is working on the transition plan, Member Lopez, so I will make sure that we follow up on making sure parents are being contacted. So we'll make sure that that's happening immediately.
Thank you, CEO. I will also encourage for those especially that are within our districts, let us know how in the 7th district, how myself could be a support and how our local community organizations also can plug in. Thank you.
This concludes public participation. I'm sorry, we have someone. I'm sorry, Ebony.
I just want to say I really appreciate the detailed presentation today. It was super clear about the agenda points that are being prioritized, and a number of I'm really curious about how you reached a number of what it will all cost and how we can look into verifying it. Can anyone answer that? I'm talking to the teachers union right now.
Board Member DeBerry, we'll have
Oh,
that answer referred back to you. Thank you.
Okay.
Are there any comments or questions from the board? This concludes public participation. Thank you.
Board members, we will now proceed with the potential board reports to be considered at the March 20th, 2025 regular meeting. After each item is presented, board members will have the opportunity to ask their questions and make comments before proceeding to the next item on the agenda. Board members, we will begin with the following education items, numbers 1 and 2, and we'll begin with item number 1. Resolution Ray National Board Certified Teachers Recognition, Class of 2024 and 2024 Renewed National Board Certified Teachers.
Good afternoon, President Harden, members of the board, CEO Martinez, Tito Shikumbaba. My name is Leslie Niskern, and I'm the Senior Project Manager for CEO Initiatives, and I work out of the CEO's office. We're recommending the board accept our annual NBCT resolution at the board meeting on March 20th. This resolution recognizes the 36 Chicago public school teachers who have successfully completed the National Board Certified Teachers Program, and the 72 who have maintained or renewed their 5-year certification as of December 2024. We work in partnership with CTU's Nurturing Teacher Leadership Program at the CTU Quest Center, where candidates receive support, mentoring, and professional development. This ongoing partnership has helped to increase the CPS CTU achievement rate from 90% in 2023 to 93% in 2024. This partnership relates directly to the CPS blueprint, which has academic progress at the top. Through high quality and rigorous instruction, talented and empowered educators are realized through this highest of teaching credentials. This rigorous voluntary multi-year certification process is to attain the Illinois National Board for Professional Teaching Standards endorsement. To equity. The National Board for Professional Teaching Standards holds equity as a cornerstone and defines itself as, quote, an anti-racist and inclusive organization. We believe educators must help students understand their role in a diverse world, value individual differences, and especially in times like these, we believe in the power of the teaching profession to defend what is good and right for all people, end quote. The NBCT Candidate Support Program is committed to increasing the diversity of the program by recruiting more diverse mentors and reaching out to eligible diverse teachers in their networks, as well as through meeting engagements, serving on panels, and recruitment videos. You will hear more about our NBCTs during CETO's Honoring Excellence at the board meeting, but for now, we respectfully ask that you accept this resolution.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 2, authorize a new agreement with various vendors for college and career readiness services.
Good afternoon, board members. My name is Tish McGee, and I am the Director of Business Operations for the Office of College and Career Success. Joining me is Dr. Heidi Truax, who is the Executive Director of OSCPA. The Office of College and Career Success is seeking authorization for new agreements for college and career readiness services. These agreements will span from May 1st, 2025 to April 30th, 2027, with a total amount not to exceed $4.5 million. We have a pool of 24 vendors selected through a competitive RFQ process, and schools and departments will have full authority to choose vendors based on their specific needs within the framework of this agreement. The services provided by these vendors will fall into 4 categories: key content knowledge, industry recognized certification testing, key learning and adaptive skills such as time management, study skills, goal setting, and key transition knowledge and skills. An example would be career pathways, work-based learning, admissions, financial aid requirements, etc. I want to highlight our equity focus. By providing these resources to all schools, we aim to decrease barriers and foster fair and equitable access to the support that prepares students to explore post-secondary pathways, develop workforce skills, and achieve long-term goals. In addition to district-wide availability, the Equity Index is leveraged to support engagement with these services for schools and communities most in need. Our vision connection, of course, is post-secondary success, and we believe it is essential to highlight that the services offered are critical resources for preparing all students for post-secondary success, which can significantly impact their college employment pathways. Vendors will be available to serve K through 12 students. If the agreements are not approved, schools will lose access to a vetted list of college and career service providers, and departments will be unable to secure services for large numbers of students from key providers. To help close the opportunity gaps, vendors can offer a wide range of educational resources, including digital tools, various mentoring programs, academic interventions such as tutoring, and opportunities to develop college-level skills that will support students during the college application process. We would also like to highlight how our office measures success, and Dr. Truax will discuss OCPA's evaluation process.
Good morning, board. Just wanted to share, in my department, we get the pleasure of overseeing 4 of these partners that exist in category 4. And our methodology really is based on relationships. So we meet with each of those partners monthly for half an hour. Upon the entry of their status into the vendor pool, we identify shared progress monitoring and outcome metrics that we then look at in real time every month when we meet, to make sure that the services they are providing to students are actually driving the post-secondary outcomes of our young folks. We do that largely through the use of 6th through 12th grade individualized learning plan tasks, which are post-secondary activities that are strongly encouraged for all schools to support students with, as well as more access-driven activities such as applications to college, experiences with union and trade visits, and ultimately college enrollment and persistence data. That is what we use to help track that they're really driving success for our young people.
Additionally, our office is considering implementing a quarterly business review process to gain insight into how our schools are experiencing our relationships with the vendors in this pool. So in conclusion, we are confident that these agreements will deliver vital support for our students and contribute significantly to their future success. Our investment in college and career readiness services is a proactive step towards ensuring that all students have access to the essential resources they require to excel in alignment with our 5-year vision. We truly value your support and commitment to our students, and we look forward to collaborating closely to create meaningful opportunities for our students. Thank you for your partnership.
I would just say I would encourage you to move forward on the quarterly review.
Thanks so much for that report. It's such a really important area of work. I know that college and career readiness services cover a wide range of activities, and you all mentioned a few of them. We can't really tell anything about what's being provided from just the list of vendors. So I'm wondering if it's possible for you to provide, I don't know, maybe a brief description of what each vendor is potentially offering, and if we're going to be able to get reports on which schools are taking advantage of those services.
Happy to produce that.
Hi, Member Rivas here. Going along actually with members of CORE's questions, just the number of students that would be impacted by this, and is this an opt-in for our high schools, or is this you have to choose a provider to work with you to meet those goals?
Yeah, it is opt-in, but we do some strategic encouraging. So based on the equity index or where we can tell there are deficits in providers in schools, we raise to awareness these vendors. Often, if I'm lucky, I protect some of my budget in order to pay for the provider to then serve schools that otherwise wouldn't be able to afford it. Because we want to make sure that we have, as much as possible, equitable disbursement of these providers to all of the schools across the district.
And then just that first question, though, just the number of students that would be impacted by this, if we can get that answer at some point.
We'll absolutely follow up on that. We have it. We just need to produce it.
Just a point of clarification, do these contracts allow schools to participate in these services at a reduced rate, or does this cover the cost for schools to participate? Or does that vary by vendor?
I believe that varies by vendor, but I would like to defer to procurement to talk a little bit more about what the pricing structure looks like.
Board Member Bennett.
Could you clarify that different vendors bid different amounts? What accounts for that difference in the amounts they're bidding?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Different vendors bid different amounts. What accounts for that difference in their bids? Is it the level of services, their capacity to deliver?
Good morning, Patricia Hernandez, Chief Procurement Officer. We can get some of that information for you, usually with the request for qualifications. We have minimum requirements based on the services that would be provided by the vendors. Some cases we negotiate hourly rates, or in some cases we do like mini bids where there's an identified scope. Then the department will put that together and get quotes from the different vendors in the pool that can meet those requirements. And then whoever gives the best pricing to the school will move forward with the assignment. But we can give you a little more specific information about each vendor's cost structure.
That'll be helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. Did I read in the agenda that some of these services are extended to the parents of our students as well? Or did I make that up? The agenda deck that we have doesn't have that in there, but I thought in the actual like public agenda, it said that it was extended to parents and students.
We'll look into that and
Okay.
I'll circle back.
Thank you.
I was looking specifically at Pearson. And there, I found something that, I don't know, some link that I clicked on that did tell me what each vendor was providing to the district that was in our packet. And it looks like, is the Pearson contract for materials for our CPS clinicians to use while doing career assessments for career readiness with for the students that they're working with. That's what it looked like for me.
We are more than happy to provide details, a breakdown of what's incorporated into the services that they'll provide.
Thanks.
Board Member Lopez.
Along with Board Member Coster, I'm also interested to know about the parents, if they are included in this, and also wondering if the services that are provided, are they in mind culturally sensitive, given the makeup of our student body?
We will research and we will report back out.
If I may interject, I think the board members are referring to the actual board report and the scope of services.
So my question is just around at what point in their high school career are they introduced to these vendors? I couldn't really understand that. So are we hitting them when they're freshmen, or is it part of, their senior experience?
These services are open to all students K through 12.
All students K through 12.
If I can add,
How-
because there's 4 categories, it depends on which category they're in, right? So in category 4, which is where I have the most interaction, I can tell you services start as low as 6th grade
Mhm.
rather than kindergarten. But for example, category 1 and category 3, like around executive functioning and helping develop more of those skill building, that is happening as low as kindergarten.
Okay, so as we get more information about what the vendors offer, it will be clear at what point in their career they're offered it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Board members, we will continue with the following information and technology services item. Number 3, authorize a new agreement with Sentinel Technologies, Inc.
Good afternoon, Board. President Harden, CEO Martinez. I'm Norman Fleming, the Chief Information Technology Officer of CPS. And my colleagues, Deputy CIO Ed Wagner, and Mr. Kyle Austin, our Director of Network Services. This is an example of diversity, equity, inclusion in information technology. These are the most competent leaders in the city of Chicago. I'd now like to turn it over to Mr. Austin.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Board of Education. I'm here to ask the board to authorize a new agreement with Signal Technologies for data network upgrades to use local and E-rate funding for another 3-year agreement for our wired and wireless services, not to exceed $46 million. This is a 5-year program that we do to upgrade routers, switches, and access points for all 500 plus buildings throughout the district. This is a RFP bidding process that we do every 5 years throughout the district. This is using federal funds through the USAC program. Our MBE and WEB, 30% for MBE, 10% for our WBE. Our spend has not went over 40%. Right now, CPS has received in the past 76%. This RFP has went up to 86% for Cisco pricing. Our equity focus is resource equity. Our vision connection is financial stability and operational excellence. Implications, if this RFP is, this contract is not signed, is we will lose out on $19 million in E-rate funding. Any additional questions?
I just want to make sure I understand the E-rate funding is is that portion is what's helping pay for that total cost?
Yes.
Okay. And then these upgrades are, we've had a lot of different upgrades that we voted on in January and February. These building-wide upgrades are to help support those things that we've already approved contracts for. Is that correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. Vice President Bautista here. My question is the same question I had at the last ARC meeting about getting a clear understanding of all of the contracts that we have with the technology, since we're going through this, converting from Oracle to IBM, and then all the auxiliary contracts, including this one. Because it's hard for us to have a big picture, like what is all included in CPS's technology, like the portfolio that we hold, like with all of that, the different contracts, like when do they expire, how do they complement each other? It would be really helpful to have that information. I think I requested it at the last meeting. I don't know if we've received it yet.
Yeah, so thank you for that question. I think a couple of weeks ago, we sent a placemat to all of you, all of the board members. And in a placemat, it represents our Big Four. Our Big Four initiatives in ITS that enables the 5-year CPS strategic plan. One of the Big Four is the WAN redesign project, wide area network. So we are focused on increasing the bandwidth in elementary schools by 3,900%. For high schools, 900%. Let me just clarify. IBM has been selected to implement Oracle. We're not implementing any IBM products or systems. They're a system integrator. We will kick off Program Bridge next week, March 10th, so that we can implement the Oracle Fusion Cloud ERP system. The other presentation was selecting Accenture to implement what we call Project Stream, which is a Microsoft system that Accenture will assist us in implementing. The reason why we select these system implementers or integrators, because we don't have the in-house expertise. So typically when you don't have the in-house IT expertise, you go with an outsourced vendor, and that's IBM Consulting Services for Oracle, and that's Accenture Consulting Services for Microsoft. So hopefully that can help, and hopefully you have an opportunity to review the placemat that actually focuses on our Big Four initiatives in ITS. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Board members, we will now continue with the following nutrition support services item number 4. Authorize the first renewal agreement with Global Payments, Inc., DBA Heartland Payment Systems, LLC.
Good afternoon, board members. My name is Jason Mojica. I am the Executive Director with Nutrition Support Services. I'd like to introduce Ricardo Sandoval, who is our Senior IT Manager, who will present today's board agenda item.
Good morning. My name is Ricardo Sandoval. I'm here to ask for the authorization for the first renewal agreement for meal management point of sale systems for Global Payment, Inc., doing business as Heartland Payment Solutions, LLC, and doing business as Heartland School Solutions. The first renewal agreement to provide IT system support for our point of sale systems at all of our schools. The implications, if the agreement is not approved, meal management and point of sale systems will not be supported, resulting in loss of meal accountability and revenue. The equity focus is inclusive partnerships and fair policies and systems. Strategic plan connections is school modernization of technology and systems. Vision connection is the operational excellence, 21st century learning environments, giving students cashless payment options. So the key performance indicators in our SLAs are quarterly business review meetings with Heartland management, dashboard creation to report out daily, weekly, and monthly meal reports by school or district-wide, and maintenance, project management, and configuration support for future business processes. The amount for this term is $2,330,000, and that's not to exceed for the next 2 years. The renewal was an original competitive RFP. The proposed spend for the next 2 years is $1,165,000 for each year. IT support for our POS system. The POS system is what captures the critical data around how many meals we serve, food production worksheets, inventory, and training. Supporting the system is needed to ensure we meet all state and federal requirements for meal planning and accountability. Heartland is the current incumbent and understands the needs of nutrition support and has been diligently working with us to implement more capabilities of the system that will provide us with better data we can use to track acceptability factors of menu items, see participation by school, and use some of their enhanced features to support the meal program. This year, our spending has increased compared to previous years, during which we primarily covered the software in our POSs and not the hardware requirements. The increase is attributed this year to the necessary refresh of our POS units, which requires purchasing new hardware. Additionally, we are upgrading our devices to Windows 11 to ensure system compatibility and security. Just a side note, Windows 10 is going out of service in October from Microsoft, so we just start updating all our systems. Looking ahead, spending will remain elevated for our next 2 years to accommodate these hardware requirements and infrastructure updates. Furthermore, NSS is initiating a cashless payment pilot for a la carte transactions in schools, enhancing payment efficiency and convenience for our students. Any questions?
Thank you very much.
This concludes the first portion of the board reports on the public agenda.
We will now move into a short recess. Board Member Lopez, do you have a motion, MO1?
I move that the board take a 30-minute recess.
Is there a second? So moved.
Thank you. I'll proceed with a roll call. Member Lozano?
Yes.
Member Smith?
Here.
Is that an aye or a yes?
Aye, yes.
Thank you. Member Lopez?
Aye.
Member Thomas?
Aye.
Member Boyle?
Aye.
Member Custer?
Aye.
Member Pope?
Yes.
Member Rosenfeld?
Aye.
Member Rivas?
Yes.
Member Rio Sierra?
Aye.
Member Bannon?
Aye.
Vice President Bautista?
Yes.
Member Biggs?
Yes.
Member Thodakura?
Yes.
Member Blaze?
Yes.
Member Zakor?
Yes.
Member DeBerry?
Yes.
17 ayes, 0 nays. This motion is adopted by the board. The meeting will now go into a 30-minute recess.
And the Review Committee of the Board of Education is reconvened. Board members will now proceed with the second group of potential board reports to be considered at the March 20th, 2025 regular meeting. After each item is presented, board members will have the opportunity to ask their questions and make comments before proceeding to the next agenda item.
Board members, we will begin with the following facilities items, numbers 5 and 6. Amend the pre-qualification status of and new agreements with various vendors for emergency facility restoration services.
Good morning, board members and CEO Martinez. My name is Caleb Rayberg, Director of Facilities Management Operations. Today, I am recommending the board to approve an amendment for the Emergency Restoration Services contract. This is a supplemental to the original RFQ and will amend the contract to add an additional 3 vendors for a total of 7 vendors in this pool. One of those 3 is a minority business enterprise. The 3 additional vendors are Homecoming Restoration, LLC, Midway Restoration Incorporated, and PMJ Enterprises Incorporated. The amendment term would be effective April 1st, 2025, and continue through the original contract termination date of March 31st, 2027. This type of service cannot be planned for. We can take preventative measures such as proper winterization to avoid pipes bursting, but we cannot predict when a fire, flood, wind, or vandalism event will occur. This particular contract is to assist us with the immediate response to those events. In the middle of the night, if a fire occurs, we are on site and calling on this pool to come and set up air scrubbers and take other action as part of the immediate emergency response. Before going into the data regarding this board report, I just want to note that this does not include the repair that goes through the various trades, general contractors, or jock contracts. This is only for the immediate emergency response. Over the past 5 fiscal years, across 3 different board reports, we have had 94 incidents across 80 locations and spent $2.67 million. 79% of those incidents were water-related. The average cost of a water-related incident is $18,900. Fire was another category with an average cost of $71,400. And then other incidents such as animal excrement, mold, or vandalism has an average cost of $24,500. Regarding school data, 86% of these schools only had 1 incident during the past 5 years. The most extreme case was 1 school with 6 incidents over the course of 4 years. The average number of incidents per year is 15. We have had as many as 28 incidents in a single year, though. This year, we are currently at 9, 8 water and 1 other from vandalism. There is no additional request for authority. The most we have spent in a single year was $910,000 and some change in FY23. We believe that the annual authority threshold of 1 1/8 of a million per year is still acceptable. For FY23, if we had just a couple more events, we might have actually hit that authority or exceeded. But we don't want to run into an issue where we cannot open up a PO due to a lack of authority within a given year, which is why we're requesting to maintain the 1 1/8 of a million per year. This is tied to the vision of a 21st learning century environment. If we don't have emergency restoration service vendors, we can't bring the space back up to par. This is tied to equity resource by allowing facilities to immediately respond and take action to minimize downtime of affected spaces for students and staff. If the board does not approve this recommendation, the department will continue to rely on just the 4 vendors that are currently contracted to provide the services. Thank you for your consideration on this matter.
Can you clarify the dollar amount again?
For the overall not to exceed?
Yes.
That is not changing, and it is $4.5 million over the course of the term.
Thank you. Thank you for your report.
Item 6, amend agreements with various vendors for the purchase of, purchase of maintenance, repair, and operation supplies and personal protective equipment.
We are recommending the board to approve an amendment for the purchase of maintenance, repair, and operation supplies, also known as the MRO contract. This, as well as a supplemental to the original piggyback that we have with, and we'll add 2 additional vendors for a total of 6 vendors to this pool. The 2 vendors are Home Depot, and Thermosystems LLC. This amendment would be effective April 1st, 2025, and continue through the original contract termination date of December 31st, 2025. For facilities, MRO contracts are utilized to purchase various supplies to perform maintenance and repair on assets. Common items include filters, valves, pumps, hardware, etc. Schools and other departments do utilize this contract to purchase various things as well, such as shelving units. It appears that there was an error with the reported historic spend on the slide. To get a full picture of MRO purchases in the district, we need to look at not only the current board report, but also the previous ones with Granger, which did cause some calculation errors. So over the past 5 fiscal years, we have spent $15.32 million across all of those contracted vendors. FY21 was 2.2 million, FY22, 5.04 million, FY23, 5.67 million, FY24, 2.1 million, and our current fiscal year is 286,000 thus far. For FY21, that was only 3/4 of a year for facilities. We still had the IFM contracts in place with Aramark and Sodexo for the first quarter of that fiscal year, and then we brought it in-house through JLL for the remaining 3 quarters. For FY24, the Granger contract was not renewed and was not in place for the last quarter. People are still getting adjusted to Granger not being in the marketplace, which is one of the things that we are working through to push our folks and other departments back into the marketplace with our contracted vendors. For FY25, we have noticed that our staff, as well as the other departments, weren't using this contract rather than going to Granger or other non-contracted MRO vendors. So expanding this pool will help bring some of those non-contracted vendors in and ensure that we are getting the most competitive pricing. Facilities does represent 53 to 94% of the spend each year, 94% being this fiscal year. The district averages slightly over 3,000 MRO orders through these contracted vendors. When excluding FY25 as an anomaly, our average actually jumps to over 3,800 orders annually. The 3 current vendors were not set up in the marketplace originally, and as of right now, we have 2 out of the 3. This did affect the ease of ordering compared to the original Granger contract. As I mentioned, we are still working through change management to steer individuals back to the marketplace rather than going through non-contracted vendors. At the same time, we do acknowledge a need for more vendors to ensure more competitive pricing on different items. We have found that Fastenal, for example, one of our contracted vendors, we can save 12 to 20% on particular items that we purchase through other vendors. A requirement of being in this pool will be to be set up in our marketplace, also referred to as the punch-out. This ensures consistent pricing and accurate item descriptions for analysis. It is the equivalent of going to a store's website and selecting items that you want and putting in your cart versus calling up the store asking if they have something in stock and what the price is, or email. One of the nice things about our marketplace is when you go to check out, it will look at those items compared to all of the other vendors in the marketplace and notify you if there's an equivalent item for a lesser cost. And you have to select the item at the lesser cost, or the system mandates you to provide a justification why you're not doing so. These products are tied to the vision of providing a 21st century learning environment. Continuing to grow this pool and ensure that we are getting the most competitive pricing allows us to stretch our dollars further and get more work done. If this is not approved, we will continue to have a limited pool, and we may not get the most competitive pricing for all the items that we need to purchase. Thank you for your consideration on this
matter. Member Rivas here. Thank you for the information on these 2 contracts. I actually have a question about both of them. For this first one, I see that the MBE historicals are high in 23 and 24, which I think is great, but we're not noting on the list of vendors, like which ones are MBE and WBE, like we've done in other lists. So I just would want to know which one of those are the MBE and WBE vendors on this list.
For the emergency restoration or MRO?
No, for the second one you just did.
Oh, I apologize.
So Member Rio Sierra says it's all of them.
No.
Hi, I'm Tina Laurie Harris, Executive Director for Office of Business Diversity. I have a bit of laryngitis, so I'll be a little wispy. The participation for Home Depot and the other vendors is 30% M, 7% women. So they will have subcontractors and sellers under Home Depot that will be a minority enterprise or a woman-owned enterprise. So we'll have 37% participation. Sure thing.
Thank you. And then for the previous one, I'm assuming then that we're going to rely on the vendors to meet the 30% and 7%, because I do see that we have two First Choice Solutions, and under our previous vendors and our new vendors, PMJ, are both MBEs. Is that where we're relying to get the 30% and 7%, or will the others also subcontract?
Yes, they will also participate with 30 and 7. And as Caleb explained, this is like a 911. So whoever answers first and gets there first will do the work. So obviously, we'd love for all the MBEs to do it, to be the prime on it, but everyone participates in that way by their subcontractors.
Great. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it, especially just making sure that we're trying to keep as much of our public dollars in our communities here in Chicago, since it's such a big, big contract. Thank you.
Sure thing. Thank you.
Board Member Boyle.
You know, I'm wondering about the addition of Home Depot. So does that help schools that, like, the engineer gets there that morning and sees something's going on and he has to run over to Home Depot to get like something right away to fix it? Will that help? Because I've heard that in the past, sometimes that's a little bit of a block, like not being able to get things really quick for certain repairs. So is that Home Depot help?
Home Depot will help with that process. And we do continue to look at other opportunities to continue to expand this pool with companies with local stores where we could run and pick something up. POs are still required. We don't use P cards in our department. So we will still have to issue a PO for it, but we are working with Home Depot to try to pick things up in emergency situations like that.
Thank you.
I have a question about, you mentioned schools or departments buying outside of the contracted vendors. Under what circumstances do they request that, or is that allowed? Is that reviewed? How does that work?
Legally, you can spend up to $35,000 with a non-contracted approved vendor. So, for example, Home Depot has been an approved vendor for a while. Granger is still an approved vendor, even though they don't have an active contract. So schools and other departments can still reach out to those particular individuals. In some cases, like Home Depot, it's because they've gotten such a relationship with the rep that they feel comfortable just calling up that rep or emailing them.
I know that somebody said for efficiency and all that, but I mean, is there any estimate or have you looked at what the price differences are between going with a contracted vendor versus non-contract, just to get an idea of if we're spending the money as wisely as possible?
Yeah, we have looked at some of the items that have been purchased through both contracted and non-contracted vendors, and there are cases where our contracted vendors are more expensive and cases where our contracted vendors are less expensive. So Home Depot does offer some items that we have been purchasing through them as a non-contracted vendor that are less expensive than going through our contracted vendors.
All right, thank you.
My question is regarding number 5, but maybe it's really bigger than that. So when we approve a maximum amount, does that mean that then those funds are encumbered and can't be used for anything else because they're like held for the possibility of, an emergency?
No, ma'am. So the authority works so that we have the permission to spend up to that amount. It is still dependent on our approved budget. So we do try to hold money in our budget to account for some of these emergencies, but we can only spend up to the authority, which is the permission that you give us to spend. But if I ask you for $10 to spend, and I only have $5, I'll only spend spend the $5 that I actually have, but I would have permission to spend up to 10.
Okay, so the money is in theory available for other uses if that should become necessary. That's what I'm asking.
Thanks, Caleb. Good afternoon again, Patricia Hernandez. So the not to exceed, as Caleb explained, is just permission, board authority to spend up to that amount of money. It is not related to budget appropriations or approvals or funding. So as Caleb said, if I have, like I'm gonna have a custom print contract coming before you next month for like $10 million. But it's school-based spend, so it's only, if the schools have money in their budgets, they will be able to spend that up to that amount of money. But these dollar amounts are not sitting anywhere in anybody's budget. It's just an aspirational amount, a ceiling of what we can spend up to if the funds are available in our individual budget lines.
I'm wondering if we're too far into the process to think about maybe going with another vendor besides Home Depot, maybe Lowe's.
We have been in conversation with Lowe's, and we are looking at the possibility of contracting with them as well.
To give a little additional context, what we try to do is, in this case with piggybacks, we try to see if there's other governmental consortiums who have contracts with some of these vendors because it's easier for us to contract with them. One of the challenges we have is some of those vendors either do not have like an e-commerce platform, they don't accept purchase orders, they take only P cards, or they will not agree to our legal terms and conditions. So that kind of restricts who we can do business with. Like historically, Home Depot never accepted purchase orders, but we're kind of, developing that relationship. They've come up a long way with their technology where we're able to contract with them.
And also, I want to add that we do look for corporations that are wanting to participate with minorities and women. So Lowe's is an example of an organization that does not. Now they're considering it. So we're always thinking holistically, intentionally, when we're doing business with any corporation.
Thank you for your report.
Board members, we will continue with the following capital and real estate items, numbers 35 through 38. We'll begin with item 35. Authorize a new agreement with Warehouse Direct, Inc., DBA Midwest Office Interiors.
Good afternoon, board members, Board President Harding and CEO Martinez. My name is Vinuet Dai, and I'm the Executive Director for Capital Planning and Construction. And we're here today to recommend for you to approve at the March board meeting a new agreement with Warehouse Direct, doing business as Midwest Office Interiors to provide systems, furniture, accessories, and related services. This vendor provides system furniture, accessories, related services manufactured by All Steel H&I brands, which includes All Steel, Gunlock, and HBF products, collectively called All Steel products. These goods and services are for the entire district, primarily CPS's administrative offices, network offices, field offices, and some school offices as well. It would be the furniture that you see in the office, the cubicles, the systems furniture in the private offices. This is the type of furniture that we're talking about today. So specifically, this vendor would provide all associated design for office and cubicle furniture, reconfiguration services for existing furniture, when we are doing renovations, such as what we're doing here at 42, what we did for some network offices recently, and also for some departments where we rearrange their furniture. By going with All Steel products, we are able to utilize parts and pieces that we have from furniture that was decommissioned or like we're doing for 42. We're able to reuse the furniture because they make their systems furniture so that so that it can be interchanged. This also includes warranty and warranty services, repair services, white glove delivery installation, and as well as cleanup and discarding of all material. The outcomes from this contract will give us the ability to reconfigure again and utilize our existing all-steel stock and related office systems configuration to maximize cost savings. So instead of going with a new brand, we are reusing the parts and pieces that we have and adding to that with the same brand of furniture. And this again is maximizing cost savings, and it continues to provide for our expansion needs. Manufacturers of furniture systems of this type do not design their components to be interchangeable with other systems, which is why we need to stick with all steel. And so, because their pieces are not compatible or interchangeable with other major manufacturers' furniture systems. We're requesting board authority for $30.5 million for the 3 years for a term beginning April 1st, 2025 through February 29th of 2028. Note that the actual spend would be determined based on the projects in the capital plan, the user groups approved budgets, that's schools and departments, during the term of this contract. This vendor was selected via a non-competitive basis, utilizing the single source request that was presented to the board's non-competitive procurement review committee and approved by the chief procurement officer. Pursuant to the Program for Minority and Women-Owned Business and Enterprise Participation, this contract has a goal of 30 MBE participation and 7 WBE participation. This requested board authority is consistent with what we think we might need in the future. We don't know. Again, spend is based on approved capital projects and the user groups approved budgets. But this furniture provides for, again, our district administrative offices, network offices, field offices, some school like counseling offices and things like that. If this agreement is not approved, the board will not have a contracted vendor to provide systems furniture, the all-steel systems furniture that we have in all of our offices, we have a significant inventory of this furniture. And so if we don't approve this, then we won't have a contracted vendor to provide these services. Additionally, if we don't, we would risk losing any configuration and cost benefits that we come from being able to relocate and reuse this furniture in all of our field offices. That's it. I'm sorry about that.
I just want to jump in real quick. One correction. We're doing 37% women-owned enterprise instead of 30 and 7. It's such a niche market, as Executive Director Dye has explained. It's very difficult to find lots of MBE and WB participation. We are very successful to find a woman-owned business to do it. We're able to get 37% for women.
Thank you.
Board Member Custer.
Thank you. Can you briefly just explain, I know we just approved some contracts for furniture in January. Can you briefly explain the difference between those January contracts and the furniture and where that was going and this current proposal?
Okay. So the contracts that you approved in January, so we probably have about 3,500 odd furniture items that we are trying to get under contract. So no one furniture provider obviously can provide all of those. So the furniture in January was for schools, libraries, science labs. It was more educational based furniture, if you will, right? So it was all those parts and pieces that go into making all of the classrooms and the different programs that we support. This particular contract is for office furniture. So it's the cubicles, it's the things you see in the offices, these kinds of desks, the kind of furniture that you're sitting at now. It's for that kind of furniture that this is for.
Great, thank you. Just wanted to make sure. Thanks.
And I also say that we are actively always pursuing furniture contracts because we do not have all of our furniture items under contract.
Thank you for your report.
Thank you.
Item number 36, amend request the Public Building Commission of Chicago to undertake the FY22 Kenwood Link and Mechanical Project.
Good afternoon. My name is Brian Zader, and I am the Director of New Construction with the Department of Capital and Facility Operations. We are recommending to the board to amend Resolution 24-0425-RS1 Kenwood Link and Mechanical Project at the March 20th board. The amendment is to increase the board authority of the Public Building Commission for the Kenwood Link and Mechanical Project. CPS received additional TIF funds to supplement the increase in scope and construction costs. The project is fully funded by TIF. The requested increase in TIF funds will bring the budget authority value from $13,950,000 from $12,251,222. The project is to construct an enclosed, weather-tight link between Kenwood Academy and Cantor Elementary School. This will provide shelter and safety for students to travel between both buildings, and the rest of the scope will introduce mechanical upgrades to the gymnasium and natatorium. Thank you for your consideration.
When will this project be expected to be completed?
Yes, so for the mechanical work, along with the southern parking lot, will be completed before August. This was also relayed to the principal. As with the link and the northern parking lot, we addressed this question with the principal. As of right now, we are looking at the fall to perhaps the December timeline for the link. And that has nothing to do with the contractor or the additional requests in TIF funds. This has to do with permit comments that we received through the Office of Underground Coordination and DOB. So it's not a purpose of the project having issues. It's more of us working with the city and the city departments in order for us to receive the permit for the parking lot for open entrance on a street.
And you say that the funds are coming from TIF funds. Is that TIF funds from CPS or from another legislator? What legislator is releasing those funds?
These are city TIF funds. As for the area of TIF, I don't have that number, but all TIF districts are divided into TIF districts. And for this TIF district, I'll have to get back to you on which TIF district this is to let you know that.
Thank you.
Yes.
Board Member Rios here. I noticed that this project is a response to community concerns. What year was this initiated?
I believe the project was in the 2022 capital plan. And as we went through scope review and meeting with the community, also with the principal, and getting all of our ducks in a row, we started in late 2023 into 2024 to start the project.
That's a great, I think this is a wonderful response to community. Wonderful project. And I think this really highlights our need to maintain a good relationship with city council and with the city, because this is fully funded by TIF. And it's something that I think it also highlights our need to maintain our obligation with the city so that we can continue to provide these partnerships for our schools.
Absolutely.
Thank you for your report.
Thank you.
Item numbers 37 and 38. Authorize the first renewal of the lease agreement with 8300 West Addison LLC $1,000,000,038 authorization to purchase the former Wright College South property located at 3400 North Austin Avenue.
Good afternoon, Board President Hardin, members of the board, and CEO Martinez. My name is Stephen Stoltz, Director of Real Estate for the Department of Capital and Facility Operations. We recommend the board authorize the renewal of the lease agreement with 8300 West Addison LLC to permit the continued use of space in the building located at 8300 West Addison Street for the Canty Elementary School's pre-K program. The space is approximately 5,000 square feet and contains 2 classrooms and a multi-purpose room that is used during students' recreation time. The standalone building serves 3 pre-K classes, including a full-day pre-K class and 2 half-day pre-K classes. We are seeking to extend the term of the lease for 5 years, commencing on July 1st, 2025, and continuing through June 30th of 2030. Base rent is currently $156,224.49 per year, payable in equal monthly installments of $13,019.12 per month. And we have negotiated for rent to remain the same with no increase over the 5-year renewal term. The board will be responsible for reimbursing the landlord for any increase in real estate taxes in excess of 2010 real estate taxes, and CPS's portion in 2024 equated to $5,230. That concludes my presentation for this item, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
I just want to say real quick, that's in my district, and I appreciate you reaching out to the principal to see if she had any comments on the building, and appreciate that communication.
Thank you, board member.
Thank you for your report.
Thank you. Next item, sorry, I'll just continue along. My name is Stephen Stoltz, Director of Real Estate with the Department of Facility and Capital, Department of Capital and Facility Operations. My apologies. We recommend the board authorize the acquisition of the property that formerly served as Wright College South, located at 3400 North Austin Avenue, from the Board of Trustees of Community College District Number 508, commonly known as City Colleges of Chicago, for continued use by Chicago Academy Elementary and Chicago Academy High Schools. The board has leased the property from City Colleges since 2011 for use by Chicago Academy Elementary and High Schools. The site serves over 1,100 students among the 2 schools that are located here. The property consists of approximately 8.2 acres of land that is improved with a 3-story, 250,000 square foot building and contains a regulation dual-use football and soccer field with a running track. The board has been in discussions with City Colleges for many years regarding acquisition of the site, and City Colleges has agreed to sell the property to CPS for $3,500,000. The appraised value of the property is $6,585,000. CPS currently pays rent in the amount of $910,490 per year. The purchase price equates to approximately 3 years and 7 months of rent that CPS would be paying if we continue renting the site. Over a 10-year period, if we continue leasing the site at the annual increase of 3% in rent, we will spend approximately $10.75 million over the next 10 years. So we are able to essentially purchase this site for just a little over 3.5 years of rent and realize long-term savings on our operating budget from there forth. That concludes my presentation for this item, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. I think this is great to see the analysis that's done on this. My question is this recommendation a part of a larger analysis of where else we might be paying a lot more in rent where it'd be efficient for us to purchase the property?
Yes, so we did a very thorough review of all leased sites last summer, in summer of 2024, together in partnership with, Portfolio. We looked at all surrounding schools, the space utilization at surrounding schools, projected demographics, and there's really no replacement site or any nearby schools that it could absorb these students. And also with a student body of over 1,100 students, there are no commercially available properties that would meet these.
Sorry, I should rephrase my question to be more specific. I think it's great that we have this recommendation in front of us. I was wondering if there's additional school properties where you would see the same value for us to be acquiring the properties instead of paying rent. If it's part of a larger analysis of other schools that might come before us at future board meetings.
I'm sorry, you're saying, have we analyzed all leased sites to see if purchase makes sense? So when a site becomes available, we do the analysis to see if it would make sense for, a financial perspective to purchase. But no, it's a good point you've made. I think that's, we'll definitely start doing outreach to see if other owners of leased sites would entertain a sale that would result in a long-term lease savings.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Board Member Custer.
Thank you. Chicago Academy is in my district. It's absolutely beautiful school, and it does house K through 12. So I think this is really awesome to kind of add to our owned properties. I'm wondering if there are any concerns about the building and possible facilities needs ongoing, and or I know there are some ADA issues, and addressing those within that building. What does that kind of look like?
Sure. This is Ivan Hansen, Chief Facilities Officer. I'm going to answer that one first. I'm going to go back to the previous question. So yes, there's a lot of need in this school. That was one of the reasons that we want to make the purchase, because we want to invest in our own properties. So we do have dollars associated in a capital plan for some roofing, some mechanical work on that, and the ADA work on there. So yes, there is a plan. Again, we wanted to get that back in our inventory and invest again in the property that we own.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And just back to the other questions, yes, we've gone through our leases, and we've actually made some purchases in the past. So a couple of our pre-K branches that we've started out with a lease, we've looked at what our investment was and gone back and said that the analysis is it makes more sense. Like we pay back in 3 years, as Steven said, we absolutely come back and do that. That we've done that in the past, and we're going to continue to do that where we can find that across the district. But we have already done that at a few locations, and we're going to continue to do that.
Board Member Lopez.
I had the same question as Board Member Custer of any major infrastructure or maintenance things that we should be aware of. Thank you.
Yes, so there's roofing, there's mechanical work, there's ADA work, there's some restroom work there. There's a lot of stuff, and we've been having this conversation for a while with city colleges, and it kind of came to the push come to shove is you guys need to either come fix this stuff or we need to sell the building. And so Steve and the team have done a great job negotiating with that to get it to a price that's feasible, and we do have money in the capital plan to go in and do some work in there.
Thank you for your report.
Thank you.
Board Member
I had a
Barrett.
quick question for you. I'm curious about how we're paying, like the paying structure. Is it multi-year? Are we, and what budget line item is the money coming from?
So I believe we're going to include the purchase price as part of our upcoming capital request, and it would be from capital dollars. And it would be one lump sum.
Thank you for your report.
Thank you.
The following slides list the standard monthly reports and motions that are listed in the Agenda Review Committee meeting agenda and posted online. Board members, this concludes the board reports on the public agenda. Are there any comments or questions? Thank you. We'll now move into executive session. Board Member Boyle, do you have a motion MO2?
Thank you. I move for the passage of motion number 250305 MO2 and the commencement of a closed session to consider matters permitted under Section 2C of the Open Meetings Act. subsections 1 and 11 as specified in the motion.
Is there a second?
I second the motion.
I'll proceed with a roll call. Member Lozano?
Yes.
Member Smith?
Aye.
Member Lopez?
Aye.
Member Thomas?
Aye.
Member Boyle?
Aye.
Member Custer?
Aye.
Member Pope?
Yes.
Member Rosenfeld?
Aye.
Member Rivas?
Aye.
Member Rio Sierra?
Aye.
Member Bannon?
Aye.
Vice President Bautista?
Yes.
Member Biggs?
Yes.
Member Thodakura?
Yes.
Member Blaze?
Aye.
Member Zakor?
Yes.
Member DeBerry?
Aye.
17 ayes, 0 nays. This motion is adopted by the board.
This meeting will now go into closed session. It's gonna be in maybe 10 or 15 minutes. Yeah. The Agenda Review Committee of the Board of Education is reconvened. Board Secretary, please proceed.
President Harden, I would like to note for the record that there are no items to vote on from executive session.
Thank you. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.